Hello everyone, welcome to Hopeful Moments 1. Today, we're going to hear a story that's both entertaining and highlights the importance of emotional control and professional behavior in both personal life and work. Today's story will take you through a surprising situation. A Karen appears at the very workplace of our storyteller, and the situation gets even more awkward when the Karen doesn't realize that the person she's causing trouble with is the owner of the business she's trying to rent from. This unexpected twist adds drama and humor to the story, making it not only funny but also satisfying for both the storyteller and the reader. If you find this story interesting and full of meaningful lessons, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more valuable insights. I've watched many videos and heard numerous entertaining stories on YouTube about people commonly referred to as Karens. With their unpleasant attitudes and unreasonable demands, these stories often make me laugh out loud and provide a sense of relaxation, sometimes even helping me de-stress after a long workday. Perhaps the humor comes from the way people deal with the absurd situations that a Karen creates. However, real-life experiences can sometimes be far less amusing than what's seen in videos. In my work, I've encountered a few similar situations. While these situations weren't that serious, they often left me feeling awkward or uncomfortable. Still, none of these moments were significant or interesting enough for me to share or talk about publicly. Most of the time, I would just choose to stay calm and let the situation pass rather than escalate it into unnecessary conflict. But there was one time when I felt I couldn't remain silent. It was such a rare situation that I felt compelled to share it, and that's the story I'm about to tell. During the pandemic, when things started to return to normal in early summer, I remember the mixed feelings of excitement and hope as retail stores began bustling again. To give you some background, I'm a 36-year-old woman with a fit physique thanks to my passion for cycling, especially mountain biking. That afternoon, after a sunny workout, I went on a ride with a few close friends on winding trails, enjoying the fresh air. The mix of exhaustion and satisfaction after the workout made me feel energized. On my way home, I decided to stop by Walmart to buy a few ingredients for dinner for my daughter. Dinner was an important time for us, a moment to talk and reconnect after a long day. As I was pushing my cart down the aisle, I unexpectedly bumped in BF, one of my best friends, along with her 4-year-old son, BFC. The surprise made me smile instantly. We exchanged warm greetings, and as always, I considered myself like an aunt to BFC. BF shared that her son was about to turn 4, and she was planning to buy him a bike for his birthday. My heart skipped a beat upon hearing this because I loved bikes and always wanted to share this passion with those around me. I cheerfully said, "Great. Let Aunt Kay help pick out a bike for him." The bright smile on BFC's face and the approving look from BF made me feel so happy. We started looking for a suitable bike. After some consideration, we chose a 16-inch bike with the perfect color and design for a soon-to-be 4-year-old boy. Not stopping there, we also visited the helmet section. I carefully checked each helmet, even trying one on BFC to ensure a proper fit and safety. The little boy smiled happily, and I felt like I had done something small yet meaningful. While BF and I were chatting and laughing over funny stories, BFC, the curious and playful child, ran over to the toy section nearby to explore. We kept an eye on him from a distance, ensuring he didn't wander too far, when suddenly, I heard a distinct ahem from behind. The sound wasn't very loud, but it was a bit rude, causing me to turn around and see who it was. Standing before me was a woman with a look anyone could recognize, neatly styled short hair, a carefully applied face of makeup but with a hint of annoyance, and an expression that seemed to demand control over everything around her. She was accompanied by a child, about 6 or 7 years old, who seemed to be holding her hand, clearly bored from having to wait. Not wanting to cause any trouble, I immediately smiled politely and said, "Sorry if I'm blocking your way at the shelf." I quickly looked around to make sure I wasn't actually in anyone's way, but I still felt a bit uncomfortable. This feeling wasn't just from the rude cough, but from the attitude exuding from this woman, a sense of superiority and arrogance, as if everyone around her should be serving her. The atmosphere suddenly felt tense, and I had a gut feeling that the next exchange wouldn't be easy. But in an unfriendly tone, CK said, "Now that you're done with them, can you help me and my son pick out a bike? I replied, sorry, I don't work here. I'm just helping my friend with her son. CK shot back, yes, you do. You're wearing cycling clothes. I said, I just finished my cycling session about an hour ago and stopped here to buy some things. I'm sure a store employee can assist you. But really, I don't work here. BF added, she doesn't work here, ma'am. CK snapped, shut up. I'm not talking to you. I retorted, oh my God. Let's go, away from this crazy woman. CK shouted, what? How dare you call me that? I'll get you fired. I took a deep breath to keep calm, even though anger was rising inside me. The feeling of helplessness from being threatened and disrespected made me even more frustrated. I turned back to look at the woman, trying to control my anger, and firmly repeated once more, I don't work here. My friends often say that I can look quite intimidating when I'm angry, and I know that I'm not someone who is easily bullied. At 5 feet 10 inches, about 1.78 meters, with a fit physique, I'm certainly not someone small and easy to push around. Still, I tried to keep this conversation from spiraling out of control. I didn't want the situation to escalate any further, but at the same time, I couldn't let her continue to dominate me. As BF and I tried to leave the area, looking for a way to avoid the woman, suddenly I felt a cold hand tightly grip mine. I jerked my hand away from the grip, feeling my anger surge again. At that moment, I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. My eyes locked on her, and my voice rang out with certainty, if you touch me again, I will call the police. These words were not just a warning, but a statement of my rights and self-respect. I am not someone who can be bullied, and I am ready to defend myself. As I spoke, I could feel the tension in the air, as though the whole space around us had contracted. My steps grew heavier, and though I tried to keep things from becoming too dramatic, I knew that if I continued to face off with her, this situation might not end here. We kept trying to move forward, but she grabbed my shirt. CK screamed, you need to help me, or I'll report you to the manager. I said, let go of my shirt. You crazy woman. At that moment, a Walmart manager, WM, approached, and CK screamed at him, you need to fire this employee for not helping me. WM replied, ma'am, she doesn't work here, and you need to let her go right now before I have to have you escorted out of the store. CK, how dare you treat a paying customer like this? I pulled my shirt out of her grasp, but CK tried to slap me. I grabbed her wrist mid-swing and said, now you're done, then twisted her arm behind her back. CK started screaming that I had attacked her and shouted about how I hurt her hand when I held her wrist behind her back. I've studied martial arts, including judo and MMA, so I knew how to handle this. My best friend, BF, was recording everything on her phone and trying to calm BFC, the child, at the same time. I told WM, call the chief of police right now, I'll have her arrested. CK, let go of me. I'll sue all of you. You're all going to prison. I replied, I don't think so, and twisted her arm harder. Her child cried loudly, and I escorted her toward the front of the store while we waited for the police to arrive. 2 police officers, DS1 and DS2, entered. I knew both of them as I frequently worked with the police department in my business. I released CK, and she screamed, arrest her now, she attacked me. DS1 told CK, ma'am, you need to calm down right now. CK, no. She attacked me. BF, WM, and I just stood still, waiting for the officers to handle the situation and answer any questions asked. DS2, K. What's going on here? CK, you know this bitch. Arrest her now. DS1, you need to be quiet, or I'll arrest you. I couldn't help but feel sorry for her child, who was crying uncontrollably while another Walmart employee tried to calm him, but clearly, the child couldn't understand what was happening. I saw the helplessness in the employee's eyes, but the child seemed unable to make sense of it all. My heart felt heavy as I thought about the future of this child, growing up in such a conflicted and tense environment. Meanwhile, CK kept screaming, but her shouts slowly grew weaker as the handcuffs were locked around her wrists. I couldn't deny that part of me felt relieved knowing that the ordeal was nearing its end. However, it was impossible to avoid the complex feelings I had watching the failure of a mother who tried to maintain control but couldn't escape the chaos she created herself. After they took CK out, I, WM, BF, and DS2 began recounting the entire story to the officers. I realized that while we had overcome this situation, the emotional toll was far from small. When DS2 asked if I wanted to press charges against her, I immediately said no. I didn't want to waste any more time on a trial. My job had already forced me to deal with too many lawsuits, and I didn't want another legal battle, especially with someone not worth my time. With that decision, I felt a little relieved. But the truth was, I knew I couldn't forget the uncomfortable and tense feelings this incident brought. She had been banned from that Walmart, and I hoped that would serve as a lesson for her on how to treat others. The Walmart store manager apologized to me for the incident, and to show appreciation, he gave me and BF each a $50 gift card. I thanked him, but honestly, I wasn't interested in those gifts anymore. However, I still handed my card to BF, who had been with me throughout this whole ordeal. The gift card was enough to cover the cost of the bicycle and helmet we had picked out for the boy, but I still couldn't afford the ingredients to cook dinner for my daughter. I called my daughter and told her we would eat out today, to avoid having to cook dinner in such a tense mood. I thought everything had ended there and that I would never see that woman again, but life always has unexpected twists. I was wrong. 2 weeks had passed since the Walmart incident, and I had gradually gotten back into my usual routine. One morning, while sitting in my office, I shared the story with my colleagues. As usual, strange and interesting stories help lighten the mood at work, and today was no different. I recalled the tense moment of facing the Karen, and the humor I had tried to find in that situation. My colleagues laughed heartily, and they were as surprised and fascinated by what I had gone through as I was, and it seemed they, too, felt relieved as the story was told. By the way, I also shared a little about my work with them. I own a rental business, a family company I've been involved with all my life. In reality, this isn't an easy job, but it brings me pride and satisfaction. After my parents retired, I took over the company and continued to grow it, which is not just a responsibility but also a part of my life. The company has grown quite large now, with 40 employees, ranging from office staff to maintenance teams, creating a dynamic and professional work environment. Amidst this casual atmosphere, one fine day, one of my office staff walked in, leading a couple I had never met before. At that moment, I was in my office, door closed, focused on my work. My staff greeted them and introduced them to OM, office manager. The couple seemed to be new tenants, and they had come to sign a lease agreement. OM, who is very meticulous in her work, called me out to meet them and asked me to introduce myself to the new clients. I stood up and walked out, and as I entered the lobby, my face suddenly froze. I couldn't believe my eyes. The woman standing in front of me was CK, the Karen from the story I had just told my colleagues 2 weeks ago. In that moment, I felt a little disoriented, but I quickly composed myself, reminding myself that this was work, and I had to handle everything professionally. So I stood there, looking at her, and couldn't avoid the tension inside me. The old story had come back, but this time, I couldn't let my personal emotions interfere with my work. Both she and I had changed, but would there still be trouble like before? When I stepped out, I was shocked. It was CK. CK saw me and shouted, "You! Don't tell me you work here." I replied calmly, "Yes, I do work here." "CK, who's your manager? I'll get you fired." I looked at her husband, poor guy, turning red with embarrassment, then pointed to OM. "She's the manager, talk to her." CK screamed at OM, "You should fire this worthless bitch." "OM, I can't fire her, only the company owner has that authority." "CK, I want to talk to the owner of this company." OM pointed at me and said, "She's the owner." I said, "That's right. You're in my workplace. I'm not renting you an apartment, and I'm asking you to leave immediately. Never come back here, or I'll call the police." She hurriedly left with her poor husband. My sales staff burst into laughter and joked, "I guess I'm not getting that rental contract bonus." I laughed and said, "I'll pay you the bonus after dealing with her." He was very happy with that. After all the tension and challenges, this story wasn't just a surprising experience but also an important lesson about how to deal with difficult situations in both life and work. While the protagonist had to face a troublesome Karen, she showed patience, self-control, and determination throughout the process. Despite being provoked and dragged into arguments, she remained calm and decisive, showing the importance of not letting personal emotions dictate actions. The lesson from this story is, whether in work or personal life, it's incredibly important to maintain strength and confidence. Difficult situations will always arise, but how we respond will determine the outcome. In a work environment or in life, we will encounter all kinds of people and situations, and not everyone will immediately accept our calmness or understanding. But maintaining self-respect and handling the situation tactfully will help us overcome any challenge. To the protagonist of this story, I would advise you to continue leveraging your patience and confidence. Remember that maintaining a professional attitude and controlling your emotions in any situation not only helps you resolve conflicts but also creates a strong and trustworthy image in the eyes of others. At the same time, don't forget that sometimes choosing to stay silent and not getting involved in an argument can be the best way to avoid more complicated situations. Finally, always keep a positive and calm outlook when facing challenges. You may encounter many Karens in your life, but how you face and handle them will highlight your qualities and tact in both work and social relationships.